Well, that was certainly something on Saturday at the Carter, with TCU losing to Iowa State 20-17. We're going to get into that a little bit more here on this episode of Frogs Insider. Plus, men's and women's basketball are both well underway. Baseball is in the middle of the Purple and White World Series, and soccer and volleyball have some updates as well. We're going to get into all of that right now. Hey, Frog fans, welcome into another episode of Frogs Insider. I am Jamie Plunkett. She is Melissa Treebwasser. We are part of the Dave Campbell's College Podcast Network. You can find the show wherever you get your podcasts just by searching Dave Campbell's, and our feed will pop up. It's our show, plus every other D1 program in the state of Texas. They have a show on that feed as well. So that's 13 different shows all in one feed. You'll be the most informed Texas college football fan if you listen to Dave Campbell's College Podcast Network. If that's not your speed, just go to Frogs Insider. You'll find our feed there. That will have this big show, our Sunday show as we call it, plus Melissa's From the Other Sideline previews of every TCU football game, plus Indie Drill, which is my solo show, which has not happened in a couple weeks, but will happen again this week. And some other interviews here and there as well. Melissa had a really good bye-week interview with Shahan Jayaraja over from CBS Sports that everyone should go and give a listen to. It's always fun when a TCU person and a Baylor person get together to talk ball. And I thought that was a really fun conversation that y'all had, Tree.
Yeah, thanks. It was great. I love Sean. He's the best, and it's he's big time national guy now. So it's nice when he sinks down to our level and hangs with the little guys every once in a while.
It's always good to be someone's kind of reality check and anchor, if you will.
Yeah.
Hold him in place.
We humble him.
Drag him down a little bit. It's fine.
Yeah, it's good. Jamie, speaking of humbling and getting dragged down.
Oh no, that was a good
TCU football. I thought, look, I was really proud of the post-game show we did last night. I think that we, Steven couldn't join us. He had family in town. We gave him the night off. I wish that was the game that one he had been on, because I would have loved to have his unfiltered opinion. But I think that you and Jeremy and myself have been pretty honest, even if we're still we're not going to be reactionary, podcast bros that are just calling for people's jobs, because I do think we all take our job very seriously. And we don't want to be those people. But I think that we gave a very fair assessment of where this program is. And I think that we have been saying pretty consistently now for the last month or so, here's where the cracks are. We'll see if the dam breaks. And it felt like against Iowa State, in some regards, the dam kind of broke on TCU. And this program is at an inception point. Mm-hmm. They really need to look inward, but I think it's also the loss to Iowa State and the way that they lost it, and to the version of Iowa State that they lost to, is indicative of what we've been seeing in this program for most of the last 3 seasons, unfortunately.
I agree. I think that just when you look back at TCU overall, if you were just kind of looking at box scores, or you are just looking at the overall record, and you go and you see, oh, well, yeah, TCU went 9-4 last year. That's a pretty good record. They were 13-2 in 2022, went to the national championship. That's really good. That's a good year. They were 5-7 in 2023, but they were kind of rebuilding. They lost a lot of bodies coming into this year, and even now, right? Oh, they're 6-3, right? And if you had told TCU fans that at this point in the season they'd be 6-3 and their losses would be to Arizona State, Kansas State, and Iowa State, I think a lot of TCU fans would be like, that's probably pretty reasonable of a place to be. I don't know that many TCU fans would be happy with 3 losses at this point in the season, because as they are, that would mean that you're eliminated from the Big 12 title race, which is not a place any TCU fan really wants to be the first week in November. And I don't think it's a place TCU fans should want to be the first week in November. But if you look at TCU overall, just from a number, from a record standpoint and from a production standpoint, especially offensively, most of the time, you'd look at this team and you'd say, man, it looks like it's a pretty good operation. It looks like it's in pretty good shape. Maybe they're not as competitive with the top echelon of the Big 12 as they'd like to be, but ultimately it's a decent program in a decent place. The reality is, though, is that there are so many inconsistencies with this program from an execution standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, from an operations standpoint, from a talent evaluation standpoint, that it feels like TCU is pretty consistently bumping into its ceiling right now. When you look at the level of program that is above them and moving past them, and then looking at who and how they're losing, who they're losing to and how they're losing these football games. Because Arizona State's a team that won the Big 12 last year, being picked to finish last in the league. Kenny Dillingham has done a phenomenal job motivating that group, recruiting good talent to Arizona State. And I don't know, I haven't looked at recruiting rankings in the last couple days, but I don't think Arizona State has been, from a ratings perspective, a rankings perspective, been recruiting at a significantly higher level than TCU. I think they're getting about the same kind of players in the program, but they're really good at a couple different things, and they're incredibly good at being physical in the trenches, with guys like Prince Dorba and other guys along that defensive line.
I can tell you last year TCU had the 24th ranked recruiting class for 2025. Arizona State had the 45th coming
Okay.
off of that season.
Okay. Interesting. But
I'll look at 2026 too.
those kids are what, sophomores right now. I'd be curious more about like 23 and 24's classes, honestly.
I can
Just
do
to
that
see
for
some of
you.
those veterans, and I know that they brought some transfers in, and I know that there was a transition period with Dillingham just being in, I think year 3 now, year 2 or 3, at Arizona State. But
46 and 21 in
okay,
23, and in 24 TCU was 34. Arizona State was 48. So
okay,
Arizona State's consistently been in the mid 40s, whereas TCU has been kind of in that, mid to low 20s, early 30s. So that's either an evaluation or a development or a team culture thing right there, right?
right. So I mean, you can kind of throw a dart at whatever reasoning you want in that regard. But that's just one example of several, I think, that we could look at across the Big 12 of, hey, there are programs out there that aren't necessarily blowing you away when it comes to the perceived talent you're bringing in to the program. They're not blowing you away with, right? Like, it's not like Arizona State has gone and been Texas Tech this year and spent $25 million on a
Yeah.
football team. But they are consistently doing the little things better than you. And that's why they won the Big 12 title game last year. That's why they came back from down 17 points against you earlier this year.
That's why they beat the Iowa State team that you lost to in Ames with their backup quarterback.
With a backup quarterback, right? And then you go and you look at things like Kansas State, right? It's a similar framework up there, and it has been a similar framework in Manhattan, Kansas for decades now. And TCU's never really been able to solve that puzzle, especially up in Manhattan. And this year, with the team that was a down version of Kansas State, you still lost to the program that has consistently been more physical than you and recruited a certain style of player. You still couldn't get over that hill, right? So there's another instance of maybe bumping into the ceiling. Iowa State is a similar example. That's a team that is consistently built on being physical, on getting after you in the trenches, and forcing you to play their style of football. And a wildly injured and undermanned version of Iowa State managed to force you to play their style of football again on Saturday night in the Carter. And at some point, you have to look in the mirror and say, is this just going to be who we are, where we're going to have to succumb to more physical football teams than us, and we're going to have to play their brand of football and hope that enough things break our way in order to come out with a victory? Or are we ever going to be able to go out onto a football field and assert ourselves and say, this is the style of football that's being played today, right? We saw TCU do that against North Carolina. Say, nope,
Yeah.
you're doing this, right? You want to go 6 offensive linemen? Sorry, that's not going to work for you today. You want to drop 8 into coverage? Sorry, that's not going to work for you today. Here's Kavori and Barnes, right? That worked for TCU against Colorado in the second half. That works for TCU against teams that aren't very good
Yeah.
in the last 3 years. Worked for against BYU in 2023 in Josh Hoover's first start when he threw for 430 yards or whatever it was.
Worked
And it
against Baylor for 3.5 quarters this year.
probably isn't going to work against BYU on
No.
Saturday
Yeah.
because you're going to run into another team that wants to be more physical than you want to be. And they're I think you said it really nicely. I think there's a situation right now with TCU where they've got to decide what they want to be. And I think one of the things that people have rightfully questioned about this era of TCU football is there really hasn't ever been a cohesive identity, and there's a lack of physicality around the program that I think has held it back in certain instances, especially along the offensive line. And it's just really disappointing to see because this is a program that has every single resource it needs to be the new Oklahoma in the Big 12. They do not lack for anything. Sonny Dykes has asked for a tremendous amount and gotten it pretty much every single time he's asked, especially when it comes to staffing. And he's got a good rev share budget, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing to see TCU be in this place.
Well, and I think it's just especially frustrating because, you kind of touched on it, but it's really hard to be successful at anything if you don't know what your identity is. And that's true in any aspect of life. It's true in work. It's true in sports. And the thing that's got to be really frustrating is I think TCU as a university has established very clear pillars of what their identity is and what they want it to be going forward. I think that is one thing leadership has done and been very vocal and out front about it. And one of those pillars is athletics. And within the athletics programs, the identity of TCU men's tennis. The identity of TCU women's soccer. Like, I know how that, I don't even understand soccer. I'm still trying so hard to figure it out. I still don't get it. But I know what Eric Bell's teams are going to do. Yeah. And I know they're going to do it at a very high level. I don't necessarily understand the why, but I see them execute it game in and game out. I know the identity of TCU women's basketball and Mark Campbell. The programs that have struggled, football, men's basketball, and right now even volleyball, what they're struggling with is understanding their identity and being able to execute. And I think and this is where I think I can draw on my coaching experience too. When you start to scuffle is when you decide if you are going to be the team that you say that you are, or if you're going to start throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. And I feel like, and we'll talk a little bit about volleyball here at the end, but I feel like that Jason Williams, because of some things that are out of his control with injuries and because they do have some soft spots in their rotation, he's thrown a lot of stuff at the wall to see what sticks, right? And they lost 4 of their last 5. They had a 4-game skid. I think with Jamie Dixon, we saw from Monday to Thursday, throw in some different things, but he's in a different situation. He's got to do that right now. And I think what we're seeing with football is the same kind of thing. They are just kind of they do not have a clear identity, and so they are trying to waver week in and week out to see what's going to be effective, and they're not able to execute because there's not a consistent expectation or a consistent ability to execute that expectation.
Yeah, fully agree with you there. And beyond executing expectations, I think there's just a level of preparation that goes into that when you talk about how do you go about your daily tasks of making sure that you are getting these young men and women ready to go.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of accountability across TCU athletics, across programs. And I know that for TCU fans, there are some easy targets to say that, oh, well, these coaches have this type of attitude, or these coaches have this kind of general nature, and so they're probably not the best at holding people accountable. I don't think that's necessarily a problem across TCU athletics, right? But I do think that when you are providing the same message over and over and over and over and over again, there does come a threshold, a point where maybe that message loses some of its impact.
Yeah.
And
especially with young people.
We've heard, and to Sonny Dykes' credit, he has been incredibly consistent with his messaging to his team since day one. And we all know the 3-word phrase that he has said over and over and over again.
Have it on a t-shirt.
Do your job.
Yeah.
Right? All he wants for his players is for them to do their 111th, to take care of their role, take care of their responsibility, do it to the best of their ability. And at the end of the day, he believes truly that if every single player does their job, TCU will win more football games than they will lose. And that has, to his credit, been true over the first 3.5 years. TCU has won more football games than it has lost in the Sonny Dykes era by a significant margin. I think his win percentage right now is still like 65, 66%. And still, we see frequently guys not doing their jobs or guys unable to do their jobs. And so at some point you wonder, how effective is that messaging still in year 4? And I have questions about it.
Well, and I think to kind of add on to that, a big part of that message, in addition to do your job, is we have heard time and time again after every loss that this team has had, we weren't the team that was most excited to play today.
Yeah.
And that this team has come out flat in 3 of the last 4 games. They've been blanked in the first quarter. 2 of those games were at home. I will say the vibes yesterday at the stadium were terrible. Walking from the parking lot, the parking garage over, like there was not a lot of excitement. And I think that some of that has to do with, fans kind of realize where we're at. Iowa State's not a big opponent. You've got a 2:30 game on a beautiful day in the heart of youth sports season. Like, I get there's all the reasons in the world, but 44,000 announced attendance is pretty low for when there's no excuses, like weather-wise or whatever else. And I'll say I did have a chance to talk to somebody that was around the team pregame, and they said they were shocked at how they came out because it looked like everybody was fired up to be out there and to play at home and to do all of the things. So something's not translating properly, and I mean I'm not there. I don't know. I don't have the words to say how to fix it, but I think you're right in saying that though the messaging has been consistent, it might be falling on deaf ears at this point, and there might need to be a change in that messaging. Like I said the last time we recorded, like I don't want to win games. I want to compete for championships. And to his credit, Sonny Dykes and this program have won a lot of games. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to win the games that matter. And when you had everything in front of you, you didn't control your own destiny, but if you took care of business, you had a real good shot to be in a position to control your own destiny on the last week of the season. To drop that game at home to that version of Iowa State, especially the defense played pretty well and the Iowa State offense played horrendously. It was right there in front of you, and you couldn't do your job, and you couldn't finish that game, and you gave up an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter. And those are the types of things that separate programs that win from programs that are winners. And I feel like right now we're a program that wins, but not a program that can be a championship contender.
Yeah. I want to make sure I get this right too.
Yeah, you got excited about something. I saw you light up there.
Well, it wasn't excitement as much as TCU punted the football with 6 minutes and 32 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And that was the punt that a walk-on returned 78 yards for a touchdown. And at the end of that punt return, there were still about 6.5 minutes left in the football game. And TCU got the football back and went 4 plays, fumbled the football, turned it over, and then could not get the ball back. Yeah. Iowa State took the ball with 5 minutes and 12 seconds left and ran 10 plays that took 4 minutes and 45 seconds off the clock.
Were 9 of those plays running plays? Because I feel like there was only that one pass play that led to the PI.
Let me look.
Because that's one thing that I know. I think I kind of said to myself down on the field, like if Iowa State stops trying to throw the football, they're going to win this game.
No, so first a run play on 1st and 10, a run play on 2nd and 7, a 15-yard completion on 3rd and 6 over the middle.
That's right.
That was on Bud Clark.
Yeah.
And then a run, timeout TCU with 1:53 left. That run, then on 4th and 1, Rocco Beck kept it for a 9-yard run.
Like, I hated it, but my God, just ballsy and just so beautifully executed. Like, credit to Iowa State on that. TC was so full. Everyone else saw that coming.
Yeah,
The defense did
everyone
not.
else.
Yeah.
Another run, timeout, Iowa State, which was odd to me.
Yeah.
Another run, timeout TCU. Another run, timeout Iowa State, punt.
So nine of them, right? Just the one pass play, the one
Just
completion.
nine, the one 15-yard
Yeah.
pass play on
On
third and
third
six, and they
six.
ran it 9 more times. Um,
I
and
mean,
then on that
that's
final drive,
asserting your will.
on that final drive, uh, 3 straight incompletions for Hoover
Yeah.
after a completion to Major Everhart. I thought that was DJ Rogers that caught that pass, but I'll have to go back and watch.
Yeah.
First pass complete to Major Everhart, doesn't get out of bounds.
Yeah.
Incomplete to DJ, incomplete to Dwyer, incomplete to McAllister, and then the hilarity of a lateral band is
Yeah.
on the field style play
Yeah.
that gained a total of 7 yards.
That thing only went for 7 yards.
Sorry, 9 yards.
Okay. Oh, my bad. Okay, better. Yeah, I mean that's
no. Sorry, 17 yards.
okay. That feels more likely. But that's like, when's the last time TCU has been able to run 9 consecutive times and keep the clock moving like that? Like what like that's Iowa State football, right? Like that is them imposing their will, even at the version that they are, with how banged up and how injured and who they're playing. They just said, nah, fam, we are going to lean on your ass, and we are not giving you the ball back with time to do anything with it. And TCU had a chance to get off the field on multiple occasions and couldn't do it.
And the thing is like, even though Iowa State, when it mattered, leaned on them. Iowa
Yeah.
State carried 3.9 yards per carry on
Yeah.
41 carries for Iowa State. It's not like they were very efficient. TCU
Yeah.
has had a very good rush defense this year. To their credit, to Andy Avalos' credit, he has
Yeah.
turned that thing around quickly in the front of TCU's defense. And Rocco Beck completed 9 passes.
Yeah. He looked terrible.
He was 9 for 24. He did not get a lot of help.
Yeah. He
From his
missed a
wide
bunch of wide
receivers.
open guys and had a lot of wide open passes. And Levi said in the preview, like, these guys can't catch. Like, he
Yeah,
was not wrong.
and
It was as bad as he said it was.
Levi was right, because they had, how many drops did they have? Let me look. PFF only accounts for 3 dropped
No,
passes from
6
Iowa State, but it
minimum.
had to be more than that.
Had to be 6. And Rocco was bad. Like, he's got a shoulder injury. It looked like it. Like, he was missing guys high, he was missing guys low. But again, the TCU defense, up until that final drive, was really, like, they took advantage of a bad Iowa State offense and made them look bad.
Yeah.
They did their job.
It goes back to what Jeremy was really saying during the postgame show on after the game, which I thought was really perceptive of him. The TCU has just really struggled to play complementary football
Yeah.
this year. The defense was so good and was set up to not have a lot of success by the offense, especially
Yeah.
in the first half. And they bowed up, right? They had the 1 touchdown drive that Iowa State got. They bowed up on multiple 2-point conversions.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. The secondary played a very good football game.
2
Yes,
picks.
they were helped by some drops. Bud Clark had a phenomenal football game.
Yeah.
Jamel Johnson, I thought, was great.
Yeah.
Vernon Glover, I thought, was
Yeah.
excellent. Probably had his best game of the year as TCU's top cornerback. And then at the end and then in the fourth quarter, they get, right when TCU jumps out to a 17-6 lead, and it feels like, great, defense has been playing awesome. They're going to come back out on the field. They're going to choke the life out of this Iowa State team. Iowa State goes on a 11 play, 75-yard touchdown drive that eats up 5:18 of game time, and then they come right back, and they can't get off the field when it matters most in the final few minutes. And Iowa State held the ball in the fourth quarter for over 10 minutes of the quarter.
Yeah.
And that 21 plays, 103 yards, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, and I don't know what that is, 10 minutes and 3 seconds of game clock. And that had to be close to 50% of their game time, their time of possession for the whole game. Just just
You can't look
the
at
the,
the
the
box score and
impossibility.
justify this.
No, you can't. You can't. I mean, TCU outgained them by 160 yards. It's the third time TCU's lost in the Sonny Dykes era when they've outgained an opponent by more than 100 yards. And just any way you cut it, this is the worst loss of the season. Any way you cut it, this is probably the most disappointing loss since Houston last year,
Yeah.
which I know there's only been a couple losses between those two. But you and I were talking during the game. Where do you rate this loss as far as disappointing losses go in the Sonny Dykes era? Because for me, I think the Houston loss is still more disappointing last year just because of the state of that Houston program.
Yeah.
But at least they were healthy.
I mean, there's probably four games that stand out as really bad losses to me. It's the season opener against 4-8 Colorado team, where you not only lost that game coming off a national championship appearance, but you put Deion Sanders upon college football, which my brother-in-law, after TCU lost last night, the first thing Brian texts me is, hey, remember when you lost to Colorado and you stuck Deion on the rest of college football for an entire... I'm like, Brian, that's not the time, bro. It's not the time.
Why are we piling on?
Yeah, because he's Stanford, and so he's hurting, and so he's lashing out. And that's fine. But it's Colorado. It's UCF, because of the way that they lost and with all of the momentum and a great stadium environment, you choked away that game. It's Houston and it's Iowa State. But the difference between UCF and Houston last year and Iowa State this year is it's November. Mm-hmm. And B, it's a November where that was the only team you were playing that was below you in the standings, and you had 3 opportunities if you won that game against that Band-Aid version of Iowa State, literally. And they had like 7 more guys go down with injuries yesterday too, by the way.
They really did.
But if you have a chance to play BYU that is reeling off of a loss in Lubbock, you have a chance to play Houston, which all of a sudden looks incredibly vulnerable. And then there is a very real scenario where Cincinnati comes to town and the winner of that game goes to Arlington. It was all right there in front of you. And it was really easy to look at Houston last year and say, turning point, that was rock bottom, and look what they did after. Yep. You look now and you don't feel that. Like, what is after? Like, can you go on a 3-game win streak now? You can. Does anybody in the TCU fandom expect that? No. A couple of days ago, we were thinking, man, TCU has a chance for a 4-0 November. It'll be tough, but it's out there for them. 3-1 is very likely, and at 3-1, maybe things break right, or maybe you can finish just outside of the Big 12 championship picture and get an Alamo Bowl bid. Like, it was right there, and now you're looking and going, man, 0-4 is as big of a possibility as 2-2 or 1-3 for this month is.
Alamo Bowl reps were at the game.
Oh, cool. Good. Great.
So awesome. Were the Independence Bowl reps.
Oh, God. Shreveport, baby.
Before we move on to other things, I do want to talk about Jordan Dwyer and Eric McAllister, because they both had huge games. They both had 11 receptions. Jordan Dwyer with 108 yards and a touchdown. Eric McAllister with 107 yards. Josh targeted them a combined 33 times, completed 22 of his passes. Considering how Iowa State was covering these guys, especially Eric, that's pretty impressive. Eric McAllister had 72 yards after the catch. Dwyer had 30. Dwyer with the NFL both feet down touchdown that was called incomplete on the field by a side judge who had a bad day.
Yeah, really
bad very bad day of officiating for him. Was a great catch and a great throw from Hoover as well. Perfectly placed ball. But yeah, both those wide receivers had really good days, and that's, I don't know. There's no silver lining really from this loss, but when you talk about an offense that is struggling to score points, it's good to know that at the very least, the goal is to get your best players to football.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt about who TCU's best players are on offense. And TCU got them the ball a combined 22 times against Iowa State. It didn't result in a ton of points because you still couldn't run the ball for anything.
Yeah.
And, that's a huge problem.
I still don't understand how TCU didn't, or why, and maybe we'll never know the answer, but why they did not test that secondary with plays down the field. Like Eric struggled a little bit. Like for him to have those numbers, considering he dropped a couple balls or a couple off-target throws that could have been completions. But again, his yards after the catch ability is absolutely elite and is a big reason why he's probably going to be a really good player in the NFL for a really long time. And Jordan Dwyer, I thought like that was the best game we've seen from him since UNC probably. Like he was where he needed to be and he caught the football. Like his hands and that touchdown was unbelievable. But I think the lack of elite speed and that wide receiver unit is part of what's holding this offense back. But I also don't understand why they didn't try to throw the ball down the field against the secondary that I think had like one starter from their opening day game.
Yeah, it's a good question, and maybe there were a lot of things talked about on the internet about Josh Hoover's hand this past week, and he did have a glove on his hand.
Yeah.
Sonny said during his midweek press conference, he kind of had to answer a question about, did Josh Hoover have surgery? No, Josh Hoover did not have surgery on his thumb. He did not. But he did hurt his thumb against West Virginia.
Yeah.
That's something that I think Jeremy mentioned on the board at some point last week. But yeah, and Sonny confirmed that after the Iowa State game. He said he got pretty banged up against West Virginia, and that's why he wasn't running in some of the situations where Hoover had a chance to maybe scramble for a couple yards. But as far as pushing the ball downfield, I don't know if it was a hand-related thing, but they didn't really run any routes downfield. Like it wasn't.
That's
It
what I'm
wasn't
saying.
that
They weren't even trying.
Yeah, he wasn't even. It's not like he was passing up opportunities to throw it deep. But it's like
Wasn't
all these
there.
guys were going 10, 15 yards downfield, running across the field, a lot of mesh, a lot of stuff out into the flat, and that seemed to be the game plan. And
Less than
3-3-5
10 yards.
a 3-3-5 can be vulnerable to those sorts of things, but it felt like Iowa State knew that was going to be the game plan, and they addressed it accordingly and had a great day defensively. A lot of backups probably earned a little bit more NIL money off of this football game for Iowa State. And, you just never took the shot. You just never took the shot downfield. And maybe it was because they didn't know how Hoover's hand would hold up. Maybe it was because they thought that their best opportunity for attacking this defense was on those shorter routes.
Also, if you're going to have a guy
don't
attempt
know.
50 passes, but you're worried about his hand, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that was. Yeah,
I don't know.
that's fair.
What are we doing? I think is just a fair assessment of yesterday. Like, what are we doing?
Let me pull QB progression down a little bit because,
And Levi did say that where teams have had success, was pushing the ball up to the flats, and so I wasn't surprised to see a lot of that. I was just surprised that it was pretty much all that we saw.
Okay, so let's look at this now. So Hoover's breakdown of the day. Stat broadcast, our stats stuff qualifies the D pass as 15 or more yards downfield, right? So kind of right at that range.
In the air or completion?
In the air.
Okay.
And so there were 9 pass attempts that went at least 15 yards downfield. Hoover was 3 of 9 on those throws for 57 yards. All 3 completions came over the middle. Every other pass attempt, so 41 pass attempts were 14 yards downfield or shorter. He was 12 of 12 on screen passes at or behind the line of scrimmage. So
God, that's a lot.
5 of 7 on passes attempted 1 to 5 yards downfield. So for those counting, 5 yards or less downfield accounted for 19 of his 50 pass attempts. And then the mid-range 5, which is 5 to 14, feels like a pretty big gap of yardage there. 5 to 14 yards downfield. He was 14 of 19 for 148 yards. I don't think his hand was really a big problem.
No, I don't either.
Just based on these numbers and based on how he was throwing the football, he was throwing a lot from like the right hash to the left sideline.
Yeah.
And those were long throws.
Yeah.
He had good velo on most of them, right? Like I didn't see much, especially after those first couple drives where he threw the interceptions. I didn't see much from him to indicate that the hand was really a problem when it came to gripping and throwing the football.
Yeah, so I mean,
So I
it's a
don't know.
game plan thing, and I don't know, Jamie. I do not know. I just know that that's frustrating. You staring down the barrel of a pissed off BYU that's going to feel like they have something to prove after being held down pretty consistently by a Texas Tech team that seems to be as good as advertised, which sucks. Good. I mean, good for them. Like legitimately, like great. Be the Dodgers. Happy for you. I
Look,
would. If
no, go ahead.
TCU was doing it, I'd be ecstatic. You know,
Sure.
like
And we talked about this on the walk out of the stadium
yeah,
last night. Is like, hey, every single school in America had the same opportunity as Texas Tech this
yeah,
offseason. Every single school knew that they could take advantage of this little bit of lapse between
yeah,
the end of the House settlement or the end of the NIL uncapped third party era and the beginning of the settlement rev share era
yeah,
to front load a ton of contracts and get the guys in and the girls in for runs at championships in the sports that you want. And Texas
yeah,
Tech did that in football. They did that in men's basketball. They did that in softball. And they're probably going to be really, really good in men's basketball and softball,
yeah.
just like they're really, really good in football this year. And so we talked about, Mike Craven wrote a really nice article comparing and contrasting Texas Tech's offseason strategy with TCU's offseason strategy, where one was, hey, we're going to go portal heavy. We're going to spend a lot. We're going to try and kind of build a super team, do the Avengers kind of thing here. And the other is, hey, we're really focused on development and we're focused on, continuity and culture and blah, blah, blah. And we're seeing the results, at least in those anecdotal situations, for those two programs right now. And one of those teams is 8-1 and going to be a top probably 6 team in the college football playoff rankings this week. And the other is, 6-3 and out of the Big 12 conference title race at this point.
Texas Tech is going to go to the playoffs and probably win at least a game, and Texas A&M is going to be your national champions. This is a rough year for TCU.
Yeah,
Go
sure
Frogs.
is. Let's move on.
You want to stay with rough, or do you want to go to bring some positivity?
Sure. Well, you tell me, which one do you want to go to, men's or women's hoops first?
Let's talk women's hoops. Let's break it up a little bit from some doom and gloom.
Okay.
Y'all, I'm happy to report TCU women's basketball is going to be good again.
Sure enough.
Yeah, it is. So they've only played one game, and they have not played anybody that can contend with them. They have another game tonight against Charlton, I think. Where are we at? Sam Houston. Sorry, Sam Houston is this week. And then Tennessee State on Wednesday before the massive, what could very well be a top 10 showdown in Raleigh with NC State, who has looked absolutely unbelievable so far this season. So it is really fun to watch Mark Campbell work. Like, you talk about what you want to see in building super teams through the portal and developing culture. One of the national shows was talking about Mark Campbell and TCU this year, and if it's sustainable to keep bringing in people, and how you develop culture when you have so many new players. And this is 2 consecutive years, or really 3 consecutive years of having at least 10 new faces in the program. But when you talk about being able to build culture on the fly, Mark Campbell and his staff have got to be among the best in the country, because the way that team played in game 1, you would never know it was their first game playing together. Olivia Miles' vision is so freaking special. She didn't even, I would not say that that's among the best games we're going to see from Olivia Miles this year, even though she put up 17, 6, and 5 or something. I don't know, or 8.
17, 8, and 6, yeah.
17, 8, and 6. I knew there were some numbers in there. But when you just watch the way she finds people and what she sees as she's coming down the court, her ability to throw blind across the court, her ability to drop those little pocket passes in the paint is really fun. I think that Clara Silva and Kennedy Basham have a chance to be a really, really elite duo, and I really want to see them on the floor together. I don't know if we'll get that, but at both, 6'7", Basham came in and had 6 blocks in less than 20 minutes of play. She was incredible. The rebounding this team can do. And then Marta Suarez is
Kind of the X factor, right?
And she's the missing piece. To have a 6'3" player that you could run as the point person in the pick and roll, that you can run a pick and roll with a 6'7" player with, which is insane, who can shoot the 3, who can handle the rock, who can rebound, who can defend, and who has a really well-defined offensive game. I was just so impressed by her debut. So, and Donovan, her confidence right now has just skyrocketed. Taylor Bigby took over in the third quarter. when she needed to and had a really, really strong run. There's just eight deep. This team is really, really good. They can go 9 deep, and I think he'll play 10 a lot in this non-conference schedule, which says a lot for a team that struggled. Mark, I think, struggled to go past his 6-man a lot last year. Like, those starters played a ton of minutes, and he can rotate in and not see a huge drop off. And Maddie Shearer is going to be awesome. She's still knocking off the rush. You can tell. Clara Bielfeld, I'm going to have to learn how to say her name correctly. The true freshman out of Germany, he likes her a lot. He played her a ton of minutes. She's got a really good bag. She just has to get her confidence and I think get used to the physicality of the collegiate game. But she's already in the rotation. I anticipate that she'll stay there. There's just a lot of things he can mix and match. The team can shoot. They started really, really slow from behind the arc, but at the end of the game, they had 11 threes. Like it was nothing. And I think they were like 1 for their first 8 or something. So it's fun. It's a fun team. They play a fun style. They get up and down the floor. They love to fast break. They pressed early, which was fun because they just blitzed right out of the gate, and poor NCNT did not know what hit them, and then the Aggies kind of fought back a little bit, got TCU on their heels, and then TCU's talent just took over. So it's a fun system, it's a fun offense. They play great defense, and there's just so many different things this team can do. I am overly excited about what this season might look like.
Yeah, I mean, if you want a model of how to rebuild a program,
yeah,
on the basketball court in a short amount of time, just look no further than what Mark Campbell has done in his 5th year of coaching, 5th year of being a head coach.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize how crazy that is. Not only, the turnaround itself is wild because of where this program was, but the fact that this is a guy who, yes, he was an assistant for decades, but he was the head coach for 2 years at Sac State.
Yeah.
And this is year 3 at TCU, and that's his entire head coaching experience.
Yeah.
And he's put together a phenomenal staff of folks who are so brilliant at game planning and strategizing. I think the way he operates and handles his staff and gives his staff these assignments and gives them their flowers in post game and just everything he does with them, I think is really well done. I know with a lot of high quality coaches, there's probably, there's probably like, hey, he's also really hard on people. But that's, comes with high expectations and really good operations a lot of the time. And it's just really cool to see him kind of mastering his craft while TCU women's basketball is having the success that it is having. So, that's a really nice kind of success story from Jeremiah Donati's time at TCU to bring Mark Campbell into the program and get things going with women's hoops and
to continue to invest.
Right. Yeah, and that's props to Donati and now Mike Buddy to say, hey, this is an opportunity for TCU to have some real success. It might not be the biggest revenue generator on campus, but it's still valuable and worthwhile. And the return has been incredible, I think, on that investment so far. Just absolutely top notch.
Whatever you spent to get Haley Van Lith to TCU was worth every single penny. Because it brought you this next crop. Whatever you spent to get Olivia Miles and Marta Suarez to TCU, worth every penny. And then I keep talking to Mark about this. It's not just that he went and got Olivia Miles and Marta Suarez. And I'm going to put them in the same sentence because I think they're going to be equally as important to what TCU does this year. Even though Olivia is going to be the one that gets all of the national recognition, Marta, by the end of this, might be TCU's most important player. I really believe that. But the fact that he was able, I am going to forever look, I think at the end of the season, the thing I'm going to look back on was him getting Taylor Bigby to stay. Because her role fluctuated so much last year. She struggled with her confidence. She really fell off kind of in the middle of Big 12 play and fell out of the rotation. And she stayed. And she is so, she's never going to be one that is good. She's not going to have a lot of 20-point games. She's not going to be one who stands out on the box score. And I was so excited to see her get the Frog Army Player of the Game because that shows the appreciation for all of the little things that she does on the court. Like when they pulled away in that third quarter, Taylor Bigby was the engine that did it. And having a player like that who understands her role, is willing to come off the bench and do so many different things, the fact that he got her to stay says everything I need to know about the culture of that program. You know,
100%.
like that's just a huge win for him. And Natalie Mazurek too. Like that's a player that could have gone a lot of places and gotten a lot of shots and a lot of opportunities. You know, she's going to be probably the 10th man on this team right now, the ninth or 10th man. And again, she came back. She could have gone so many places for her final year of college basketball where she could have been the offensive focal point and would have gotten a ton of opportunities, but she wants to be a part of this culture and this team. I think that he's built something special. I'm glad you shouted out his staff too. They all have such high expectations for themselves. They hold the line so well, but when you watch the way the coaches and players interact, and I've gotten to be at practices, I obviously have been to so many games, like there's such a genuineness in the care and concern that staff has for these players. Like Haley, I thought just was the perfect person to come in based off of how we saw her at LSU and show how real and authentic that culture is.
Yeah.
She shined a national spotlight on this program, not just for the way that they won, or not just for winning, but for the way that they won and the way that this culture was built. And so it's really fun to see him continue that. And again, like people that are super frustrated, I had so many people messaging me about how much money they spent and the time that they put in to go to Iowa State. And I get those frustrations. Like, if you want to be a part of a program, a winning program that plays an entertaining style of basketball where you could still get in for under $20, support this TCU women's basketball team. I don't care if you think you don't like women's basketball. I don't care if you don't think it's fun. I promise you, come to one game, and I can almost guarantee your mind will be changed. Like, this program deserves that support.
Skylar took the boys a couple times last year while we were there working, and they had a great time. And, my oldest wants to bring friends to those games. And it's just, now a bunch of middle school boys going to watch TCU women's basketball. And, they like going, and they like being on the Jumbotron and seeing a TCU team that has a lot of success and is putting up a lot of shots and is winning. And it's a very fun kind of culture around the program right now, as well as within the program itself. So I just think TCU women's basketball is in a fantastic spot. It's in a fantastic spot, and whatever you've got to do to hold on to Mark Campbell to keep that train rolling, you should probably do it at this point.
I 100% agree, and I'm sure that Mike Buddy does as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, men's basketball. Let's do this real quick. Let's just rip this Band-Aid off. Hey, look, we talked before the season. I think I voiced some significant concerns about this program, specifically around defense and rebounding. Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
but
I think you laid out very clearly where the issues would be.
Yep.
And you look pretty smart.
We saw them pretty much immediately in that first game of the season against a New Orleans team that won 4 games last year, a New Orleans team that's currently under investigation for illegal gambling.
Those players are not on the team anymore.
Throwing games anymore. Right, those players aren't there anymore, but still not exactly a shining beacon of basketball success. And you lost to that team. You were trailing by 21 points in the second half to that team. To make matters worse, Malik Diallo tears his ACL and goes down for the season, which just really sucks for him. I know that he had a lot of responsibility placed on his shoulders this year for this basketball team. He was going to be the starting center. He was going to have to be the leading rebounder. He was going to have to be the anchor of a defense that was, pretty undersized in the front court. And they don't get any of that from him now after he goes down tearing his left ACL. The other leg from the one he tore his senior year of high school. So you feel so bad for him. And it's clear in the way that his teammates responded that he was a big part of this team culturally and from a leadership perspective. So it'll be really interesting to see how TCU bounces back, especially when they start to play some of these bigger front courts, like one coming up on Friday in Michigan.
Yeah, I don't think they're as bad as they looked against UNO, and they're not as good as they looked against St. Francis. I think they're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Lamar's going to be an interesting test on Monday night.
We'll see. Yeah, The thing about, and I saw some folks talking on social media after the St. Francis win about like, oh, maybe Monday was an overreaction when TCU lost to New Orleans and all this. It wasn't.
No.
It's unacceptable to lose to New Orleans. I think it
Yeah.
was the worst Ken Palm loss in the Jamie Dixon era. It's the first time they lost a season opener in 12 years, right? Like that loss should not have happened, and it's unacceptable. And there's no overreaction in saying
Sure.
that. You shouldn't lose to that basketball team. Now, it isn't an overreaction to say 3-27 from 3-point range probably isn't going to happen again this
Yeah.
season, right? Like that was one of the worst shooting performances I've ever seen. And I came into this season saying pretty clearly they focused on shooting this offseason. That's what they went out and got in the
Yeah.
portal. And that was what they were going to lean on offensively. They leaned on it as much as they could on Monday, and it didn't work out, but they leaned on it again in the form of Tanner Toolson specifically in that win over St. Francis. I mean, they shot I think 35% from three as a team, even though they started 2 of 12. It was another pretty poor shooting night to begin, but they ended up I think the rest of the way shooting about 45%. Toolson hit 4 threes. I think seven
4 or
different Horn
5. Yeah.
Frogs made a three. And so that was much closer to what we're going to see from this offense. I think the rest of the way, as far as what they want to do and how they want to execute. But St. Francis had one player that was over 6'6".
Yeah.
And so that's why you see the rebounding numbers 48-22 in favor of TCU, even without Diallo on the court. I don't think TCU will have that kind of rebounding advantage moving forward against anyone, including a team like Lamar on Monday night. And so there are still some major concerns about this basketball team and its ability to defend, especially defend the interior and to rebound. And if they don't find ways to mitigate those deficiencies, then it's going to be a pretty long season. Like this won't be a tournament team. No matter how well you shoot the three, right? No matter how fast you run, if you can't stop layups, you're not going to have a lot of success. And this is a sport, not only at the college level, but at the pro level, that's only getting bigger and longer.
Yeah.
And you've chosen consciously, like you made the conscious decision not to pursue a center in the portal this offseason. You made the conscious decision to go with some kind of mid-sized wing players that can shoot the three. And so the thinking is a little bit counter to the way the sport is moving physically. And, you're going to get what you get when you make those kinds of decisions. Now, I still think TCU basketball is going to win plenty of games this year. I just don't see them having a ton of success, especially in Big 12 play, against teams that have bigger bodies in the front court and against teams that can really move the ball efficiently. We've seen TCU defenses get carved up for years on backdoor cuts down the baseline. I think we're going to see a lot more of that this year. We've already seen it a little bit in the first two games. But yeah, I mean, this is a team that made decisions that they made, and they made them intentionally, right? They wanted to get better offensively. They knew that was going to cost them a little bit defensively, and now they gotta live with the choices that they've made. And that's not me saying that they're not going to have any success at all. They could surprise some people this year. I think their shooting is good enough where if they get hot as a team, they could knock some guys off. But I just don't see consistent success from this club in its current construction.
Yeah, I think there's a ceiling. And I think that
Yeah.
ceiling, like as you kind of said, is pretty obvious because of the flaws on the way this roster is constructed, and then losing Malik Diallo does not help what's already a weakness.
It was probably the one injury
Yeah.
you could not afford
Yeah,
this year,
but
outside of maybe David Punch.
yeah, right. And I will say Punch has looked as good as advertised through these
Oh,
first
yeah.
few games. He's been great. I like what I see out of Xavier Edmonds. I don't know how sustainable him playing the 5 is, but I also don't know where else you go. Like
I mean,
against
you don't
no
have
one.
anybody else.
Yeah. I'd like to see more opportunities for Micah Robinson and Bug Edwards in the backcourt. I think we've seen some some turnover issues and some decision making issues. I think with Pierre and Brock, but I think it's also 2 games in, and let's give them time to figure it out. That's probably from a chemistry standpoint. Developing that backcourt is going to take the most time to get them on the same page and get them on the same page with their teammates. I loved what I saw out of Jace on Thursday. Like, he's just what a difference maker he is from the energy that he brings.
Yeah.
He's so important to this team off the bench. And again, I love that he's like completely bought into his role as that energizer off the bench, and he just plays so damn hard. He plays
Yeah.
so damn hard, and his skill is developing so well. Like he's going to be a really good basketball player.
He already is a really
they're
good basketball
he is,
player.
yeah, yeah. But I think he has a chance. Like I think as he continues, if he can continue to develop that outside shot, it still looks funky. It's got a weird hitch in it. I don't love that, but if he can get consistent from being able to hit beyond the arc, even just at like 32, 33%, with his athleticism and explosiveness and energy, like I think he has a chance to be something really special. So there are pieces worth getting excited about and worth rooting for, but there's still, this is not a complete basketball team, and it's really not a complete basketball team without Malik, unfortunately. So I'm gonna continue to show up and to watch them play, and to see how they overcome some of these things. I mean, this is, I understand people's frustration. I do think that it's unfair to not consider the budget this team has compared to their Big 12 peers, but I also think people don't want to hear that as an excuse, and I get both sides of that.
I
But
mean, if we're going to sit here, though, and say that building a super team in football is
yeah,
probably the best strategy,
yeah,
and I don't think it's fair to knock
yeah,
a program who is
not,
not like doesn't have the ability to do that,
yeah.
right?
And
And
this is,
so this is the reality for TCU men's basketball.
yeah,
That's just what it is.
yeah,
And they did, I think, a very good job of doing what they could this offseason. There's a, I mentioned they made a conscious decision to go with the guys they went with. This is part of that reason.
yeah,
And so you're going to like the external circumstances are that this is the reality for TCU men's basketball. It just is.
Not everybody gets to win if you have to buy your rosters, and TCU is going to continue to invest in baseball. TCU has shown that the ROI, and I don't care what people think they know about what women's basketball is and isn't nationally right now. Like, I'm so sick of all of these people that like to come in with an opinion that have never paid attention and look at one number from one game and think they know everything. The ROI on investing in women's basketball is just, it's the right thing to do, whether it's the WNBA, whether it's college game. What TCU is able to do and the eyeballs they are able to bring and the winning and success they are able to have because of what is ultimately not a massive investment is 100% worth it. You are not taking that money and giving it to football. That is not going to make enough of a difference on a 100-person football roster. Let women's basketball have their moment and win. Like, please. Like, I'm sick of it. But like, I'm tired. Like, I just wish people, everybody thinks they know everything. And that's great. Good for them. So yeah, like something is going to have to suffer. And right now where the budget is being tightened is on men's basketball. And so, yeah, there's only so much you can do. And they play in the best league in the country, and they're going to be hamstrung to a degree. And so you have to get the right types of guys that are going to buy in and hope they get, again, this is where it comes down to identity. Jamie's going to have to decide what he wants this team to be, because you can't play fast and be elite on defense. It's almost impossible in basketball. And you can't be elite on defense and also be super undersized. So they want to play fast this year. They want to get up and down the court. You better be all in. You're just going to, and that's the only way I think this team can, like you said, get hot sometimes and just outscore people. Like, I think they can win some games doing that. But yeah, being a tournament team might be a big ask, especially with the yellow down.
Yep. And just to remind folks, we talked earlier about the three programs that Texas Tech chose to invest in:
Yeah.
football, men's basketball, and softball.
Yeah.
We've seen what's happened with their baseball team, which is historically a very good super regional caliber team. They're not investing in it.
Nope.
And we've seen the fall off there. Women's basketball is not being invested in, and we've seen the fall off there. There was really never a rise there, but we've seen it continue to not have a ton of success. And so even when you see programs like Texas Tech, who said they spent $49 million on rosters across athletics last year, there are still teams that missed out on that money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for Tech, it was football, men's hoops, and softball. At TCU, it seems to be football, baseball, women's basketball, and you can throw a little bit at soccer and throw a little bit at volleyball as well. But really, it seems like universities are choosing 2 or 3 programs to really be elite in successfully.
And I think TCU is choosing the ones that can compete in their leagues in basketball. Like, I don't know what Houston and Kansas and Arizona and BYU, I mean, we know what BYU is spending, but like TCU's
Yeah.
not going to spend $10 million on basketball, $12 million on basketball. And that's what it's going to take to compete in the Big 12. So it makes more sense to try to say, let's go all in the three sports right now that we know. I mean, immediate ROI, you won a Big 12 championship, Big 12 tournament championship, and made the Elite Eight in women's basketball.
Right.
Immediately.
It happened almost immediately. There were walk-on tryouts first.
Immediately once you started spending money.
Sure. Yes.
Year
Very
one
fair.
of NIL.
They did not spend any money in NIL year one.
Yeah.
You're right.
And that national eyeballs that you got last year is good for TCU as a university. And ultimately, these two things are still tied. Mm-hmm. You have to have the university and the athletics program. They do not exist in separate vacuums. And so this is good for TCU as a whole.
And even in that year one where TCU women's basketball was having walk-ons because of injuries, you still saw a clear vision and identity.
Yeah. So, real quick, Jamie, we've hit the hour mark that we thought this was going to be a short one, and I know you want to get over to baseball here. But TCU soccer selection show Monday afternoon, 3:00. There is still a world where TCU soccer gets a 1 seed. I don't know how likely that is. I won't pretend to be an expert. I think a 2 seed is the bare minimum here, but a 1 seed is still a possibility for a program that's kind of been in the top 4 or 5 by the polls that matter. That means that at the very least, we'll have a home game on Friday. Which is really exciting. And so I know Michigan plays as well. TCU soccer should kick off before the Michigan game starts. People should come over and watch a little bit of soccer and then head over to watch some the basketball. I'm super excited for the doubleheader. In that regard, this is a really good team. They, BYU beat them in PKs, knocked them out of the tournament, but BYU went on to win the whole damn thing. That is a really good 8 seed that's getting hot at the right time, and so I don't think that loss is going to hurt the Horned Frogs too badly. This team still has not necessarily played their best soccer here as of late, but has a chance to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. And again, price of admission versus experience, it's a hell of a deal.
And this is another situation with athletics where, and you mentioned it already earlier with Eric Bell, there's clear vision, there's clear understanding of expectations, there's clear, clearly a superior assistant coaching staff as well.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder, what if Bella had been healthy this whole season, right?
Yeah.
Like if they had their, top 10, top 15 player in the country,
All-American,
on the roster this whole time as well, like what the ceiling would actually be for this team. But the fact that they've been able to overcome a loss like that, we just talked about men's basketball and how they're going to try and overcome Malik Diallo's injury. The fact that TCU women's soccer has overcome an All-American going down with a knee injury and being out for the season is a testament to the recruiting and the depth and the coaching that is happening on that sideline for TCU. So it's definitely worthwhile for people to get out there and support it. I know that they've had incredible attendance all year, and I have no doubt that Friday will be more of the same. But if you haven't gone to a TCU soccer game yet, I would highly encourage you to do so.
Go watch Seven Castaigne while you can in a TCU uniform. She's so freaking special. But the thing that's really fun about this program, when you look at how many all-league selections that they got and how many of those players are freshmen and sophomores, like this is like Camden Fuller, Grace Vest, Emily Ulinski. Like there are some really, really fun young players that all you hope are kids that are going to be bought into this program. Cam Patton is another one too. There's some great veterans, but there's some really fun young players that are some of the most talented players at their positions in the country, and have a chance to see this team really build and grow. And when you get Bella back next year, even though you're going to lose 7, and AJ Hennessy and some other players, this is, again, clear vision, clear roster construction, clear idea of who this team is and how they want to play. And that's why I think they're so successful year in and year out.
Let's call it there.
Yeah.
For this episode. Baseball is in the middle of its Purple and White World Series this weekend. They had game 1 on Friday. I'm about to go watch them play game 2 here on Sunday afternoon. The game 3 will be Thursday at 3:15 if people want to show up for that one. And then next Sunday we can do kind of a fuller breakdown of TCU baseball's fall camp, because this will be the conclusion of that. And I think that they're, you want to talk about vision and recruiting and execution. I think this is another one of those teams we can put in the good column. with what they're kind of staring down in 2026 for their season and the expectations that they have.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan.
All right, this has been the Frogs Insider Podcast. She is Melissa Treebwasser. I am Jamie Plunkett. Once again, thank you for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe, leave a rating and a review, and share with a friend because we want to keep growing and getting in the ears of more and more Horned Frog fans. But until next time, we will talk to you then. Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.